Good afternoon. Welcome to Vision and welcome to another edition of the Uplift. I'm Reverend Patti Paris, the senior minister here. I welcome you in this afternoon. Thanks for stopping by for this brief little uplift for your day. It's just a wonderful way for us to connect, to just have some uplifting information passing between us. And from my heart to yours, you know we're one anyway. There is no separation. So let's get to it. First, we're going to go to prayer because we bookend everything that we do in prayer. So let's start there. I give great thanks for this moment in time, knowing and accepting that God is all there is, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, knowing all, being everywhere simultaneously, being all-powerful. We know there is this one intelligence, this one universal energy which animates everything. And we know that we are part of that. We are part of that. We are part of each other. We are part of this one life called Spirit. And so I give this time over now to God, just allowing it to be, allowing Spirit to lead the way through this conversation, knowing and accepting it is all God, it is all good, and so it is. So good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Uplift. Glad you're here. We had started a while back. I had asked you to send in some words to look up, to see. What did Ernest Holmes have to say about whatever, right? And you've been very gracious about doing that. I'm loving a lot of the words that are being sent to me, and some of them probably are familiar, and Ernest Holmes said like oodles about them. Other words, a little maybe different. I have to look deeper and deeper into everything that he says, so it's very interesting. Today's word, however, is very, very popular in Ernest Holmes' day and in Ernest Holmes' writing. He wrote extensively on forgiveness. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I wanted to just give you some really interesting takes on the word forgiveness that Ernest Holmes shared with us. This first quote comes from the Science of Mind textbook. That was published in 1938, and this comes from page 431. He says, "We are told that God will forgive us after we have forgiven others. This is a direct statement and one we should ponder deeply." I absolutely agree with that. It is a real deep understanding of the oneness. Anyway, let me go on. He says, "Can God forgive until we have forgiven? If God can only work for us by working through us, then this statement of Jesus's stands true and is really a statement of the law of cause and effect. We cannot hold personal animosities or enmities against the world or individual members of society. All such thoughts are outside of the law and cannot be taken into a heavenly consciousness. Love alone begets love. People do not gather roses from thistles." And I think this is a really important teaching about forgiveness, is the fact that, of course it's not God who is condemning us. God never condemns, right? And therefore, God doesn't forgive. God doesn't forgive because God is never condemned to begin with. It is we who condemn each other. And as outpicturings of the one life, we cannot forgive unless that part of us that is God is also forgiving. We are the place where God is happening, right? He says God can only work for us by working through us. So God forgives by working through our forgiveness. This is why we are called upon to forgive, because we cannot hold back forgiveness for ourselves or for anyone else and be living, expressing the highest and best that we can be, the highest and best that is Spirit, self-actualizing itself through us. We must act as if. Right? And we know that God never condemns, so that God never needs to forgive, so we must live that same life. We cannot be the exception to our own rule, right? That God is all love, but we're not. We must be, because we are some part of the action of God. We are some part of the life of God. We are some part of this individualized essence, which is Spirit in form. So we must forgive and forgive and forgive to continue to get to that place of unconditional love, right? We cannot hold unloving thoughts and expect loving demonstrations for ourselves. Does that make sense? We cannot go to prayer for ourselves and demonstrate something for ourselves while holding something against our brothers and sisters. It just won't work. There can be no permanent healing if we are holding someone outside of our circle of unconditional love. Because, why? Because we cannot be a house divided. We cannot be a house divided. It just can't be. We cannot condemn someone with one side of us and demonstrate loving thoughts on the other side of us. They cannot cohabitate. So here's another quote about the very same topic, forgiveness. Ernest Holmes says, remembering that the Spirit holds no evil toward man and that God is love, we should emulate this divine lesson and forgive all, for that our hearts may be free from the burden of our own condemnation. And how important is that? We are the ones that are weighed down by our own condemnation. The person we're condemning, they don't even have a clue, do they? Do they have a clue that we're holding a grudge against them? Or that we're condemning them? Or that we're judging them and failing them? Does it bother their heart? Does it weigh on their soul? Not a bit. They don't even know it, probably. Condemning others weighs on us. It weighs on our own soul. We damage our own soul by holding hard and dark thoughts against someone else. It doesn't affect them at all. It's almost like a boomerang effect, isn't it? The dark, the hatred, the condemnation, all of this energy that we send out, it doesn't land on them. It reflects back and it hurts us. The energy then that we are resonating in, the hatred, the anger, the whatever it is, that hatred, that anger, that judgment, that resentment, we're the ones dwelling in it. We are polluting, if you will. We're polluting our own aura, our own bubble, that we are around us, the energy that's around us, that we are immersed in, that we are resonating with. We are absolutely polluting it with our judgment, with our anger, with our resentment, with all of these dark feelings. They're never affecting the other person. They're only affecting us. We must heal our own burden of condemnation so that we may resonate in all love. We can resonate in this attitude of unconditional love for others. It is for us. It is for us. That other person doesn't feel it at all. What else can I tell you? What else can I share with you here? Help for Today. Here's another good book that Ernest Holmes wrote. This one comes to us from 1958. In Help for Today, Ernest Holmes says, forgiveness means reconciliation in spite of estrangement. It means reunion despite hostility. It means acceptance of those who have been unacceptable. It means reception of those who are rejected. Forgiveness is unconditional, or it is not forgiveness at all. Now, like I said, that comes from Help for Today, page 98. There is no such thing as partial forgiveness. We can't forgive them some of the time, but then let it come back up into our mind and go, yeah, you know what? And then another thing, we get all into that story in our heads. And I'm right because fill in the blank, right? We fall right back into that trap of, I'm so mad, or I've been so, outraged, I've been done wrong, I've been betrayed, and we hold on to that anger or that resentment or that condemnation as a badge of honor. It's not a badge of honor. It's not. All it is an anchor that weighs us down, and it keeps us from knowing our highest and best good. And like I said, it does nothing to the other person at all. So we really have to let it go. We have to drop the weight. We have to drop the anchor. We will be better for it. Our hearts lighten. Our souls rejuvenate when we drop the rock, when we drop the anchor, the weight of hatred and condemnation. It's for us. All forgiveness is self-forgiveness. All healing is self-healing. I tell this to my practitioners here at Vision. Every time we sit and we do prayer for someone, we're doing it for ourselves as well. We cannot even resonate in that feeling of prayer without knowing it heals everyone. It heals everyone. Same thing with forgiveness. Forgiveness frees us from someone else's unskilled behavior of the past. Does nothing for the other person. The other person's not even included in it. They don't even have to be alive, right? For us to practice this spiritual practice of forgiveness. So if forgiveness is unconditional or it is not forgiveness at all, it cannot depend on, are they sorry? Have they done their penance? Have they done their forgiveness work? Well, I'm not going to forgive them if they're not forgiving them. It's like, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. Forgiveness must be unconditional. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. The forgiveness is ours. It is ours. It is self-forgiveness to do for ourselves. And here I have another quote. I love this one. This comes from Help for Today as well, I believe. Yes, it does. If we hold a grudge, we bar ourselves from the highest expression of our divine nature. God never hates, nor does God hold feelings of bitterness toward any person. Thus, the grudge holder is trying to express God and something else, which is impossible. Spirit does not cut itself up into little sections. No one else can say, I will accept God's healing, but not express God's love. Since spirit is indivisible, the person who refrains from expressing God's love will be unable to express God's health. Therefore, we should express love, for love is the fulfilling of the law. And this is the last quote I am sharing today about forgiveness, and I think this is one of the most important ones because it points directly out to, if you're not getting your prayer work manifesting in changes in the level of condition, perhaps you're holding someone outside of your circle of love. Ernest Holmes says it right there. The person who refrains from expressing God's love will be unable to accept God's health. This is so important, right? We're praying for ourselves. I want to heal this, I want to heal that, I have this, or my body is experiencing something and I want to heal this. But if we are not expressing God's love, God's unconditional love, if we are not in a state of forgiveness for all of humanity, we cannot even hope to express health and healing for ourselves. That's what is being said right here in this quote. So if we are, in that place where, well, I've done treatment for this, I've done treatment for this, I've done treatment for this, and I'm not getting any demonstrations, look to that. Look to, where am I withholding love from humanity? Where am I withholding love from a particular person? Where am I withholding love from a particular group? Where am I making judgment? Where am I condemning? Where am I holding something or someone or some issue or some event outside of God's love? Because clearly, like Ernest Holmes said, we cannot even expect permanent healing for ourselves while we are withholding it from someone else. And it doesn't even have to be the same thing, right? We could be praying peace for ourselves and yet we are, dismissing it for someone else. We could be praying health for ourselves, but not withholding love from someone else. We cannot expect a permanent healing when we are in a state of unforgiveness for ourselves or for someone else. We have to forgive everything, forgive everyone, not for their sake, but for ours. Let's pray out. Oh, I give great thanks for this word. I give great thanks for this mystic, Dr. Ernest Holmes, and his words of clarity, his words so concise, so clear. God is love and we are that. God is healing and we are that. God is joy and we are that. That God can only do for us what God can do through us. We must be that receptacle through which God's energy flows. And if we are to be that receptacle, we must be a clear, loving, joyful vessel through which God's energy flows, changing the conditions around us, changing them for the good, changing them perfectly and forever. I give great thanks for this time spent together. I know it is all God, it is all good, and so it is. Thanks for sharing this time with me. Thanks for joining with the Uplift crowd. I love it. Tell your friends. Have them join in this just 15-minute break out of your day to uplift your day, to resonate in love and in joy and in the oneness of all. So, join me again tomorrow, Tuesday, for another edition of the Uplift. I'll have another word that I've researched and let you know what Ernest Holmes said about it. Have a wonderful rest of the day. From my heart to yours, Vision, you know we are one. We are absolutely one across the miles, across this technology, sending my unconditional love to you. See you tomorrow.